Good afternoon and welcome inside the Moncton Coliseum for our Sunday afternoon matchup between the home side Moncton Magic and the visitors from Cape Breton, the Highlanders. I'm Scott Squires, joined alongside by my broadcast partner David Tingley. And David, the Cape Breton Highlanders come in here this afternoon facing a Moncton Magic team that started to put things together and get those jigsaw puzzle pieces into place. And not sure what the Magic have in store for the Highlanders today, but it could be a fun afternoon if you're a Magic fan, and the Cape Breton Highlanders might be up against it. Well,
Coach Rob Spahn came up to the coaching staff of the Magic. I knew I was going to do that at some point. Third game of the season it took me. Came up to the coaching staff of the Magic and said, "Look," shaking their heads, "well, I'm glad you got that out of you before we walked in here. We knew there was going to be an explosion at some point, and I'm glad it was last night." Now, he also followed it up with, "Not that you're not capable of doing it again." And I think the numbers that are ringing out in people's mind from the game yesterday, and we've discussed it already here today, is the number 77-27. And that, when you talk about that, that's the rebounding margin of the game last night here in this building.
Well, the Cape Breton Highlanders, they are a young squad. I know that they are potentially on the lookout for a veteran piece or two to add to this team, but a very young team. And the Moncton Magic, if you've been watching for the first couple of games of the season, a veteran-laden team with a nice sprinkling of some youth. And we are underway. And the Highlanders wearing the dark blue with the orangish red trim and white, going right to left on your screen. And the Magic looking pretty sharp in those gunmetal gray uniforms, going left to right on your screen. And great to have you with us for some Sunday afternoon basketball in Moncton. The Magic are 1-2, and the Highlanders looking for their first victory against two defeats. Terry Thomas had a great start to the game yesterday for the Moncton Magic. He'll look to pick right up where he left off, drives hard into the paint, and Mitchell tried to pick up the garbage underneath, couldn't get the shot to go, and back the other way. Now this is man.
The Magic picked up right where they left off, both offensively and defensively, forced the Highlanders into a terrible shot at one and a difficult shot, and got what they wanted at the other, just didn't finish.
Daquan Brooks got it inside, but it's picked up by Mitchell underneath. And you mentioned those gaudy numbers on the rebounding side for the Magic last night, and they want to certainly establish their presence in the paint underneath the basket on both ends of the floor.
6 more offensive rebounds than their opponents managed for all game on either end.
Nice look inside from Thomas to Mitchell, but Mitchell couldn't finish, and Brooks back the other way. Daquan Brooks, little 4-foot runner, no good. So both teams through the first minute and 20 haven't found the mark yet. Here's Jeremy Williams. Great game yesterday for the Magic, and gets the first bucket of the contest on that nice little move.
And we talked about his versatility last night, and he shows it again today. He can put the ball on the floor. He's a threat from anywhere on the floor, and he's got to be guarded and accounted for by the Highlanders defense.
Duke Mondi, great name, great pass. Gets it down to the corner. Stewart no good from there. And the rebound gobbled up by Al Stewart, and back comes Williams. He gives it off to AA Anthony Anderson. Anderson steps around the defender, gets it to Williams. They'll just play catch with it. They'll switch spots now, and Anderson bounces it right back to Williams from about 16 feet. And no problem there for Jeremy Williams, as he's got the first 4 points of the game.
And that's just two smart basketball players playing two-man game, passing up good shots to get a better one.
Just a couple of minutes gone by here. Brooks over to Ahmed.
And it's a tough finish for Ahmed in there. He's been very active, but I don't know if he's got the strength and the length to power around and through this stout Magic interior defense.
So a bit of a slow start for both teams here. Ari Stewart to Daquan Brooks. Brooks being guarded there by Stewart, goes down into the corner, and Duke Mondi tried to make a move along the baseline.
And AA, we've talked a lot about, and everybody knows a lot about his offensive numbers, and I think he showed last night with his game that he's not all about offense. He's got that defensive game to back it up, and the work he did last night in this building on Sessions, a talented backcourt member of the Island Storm, will tell you that in spades. And he did yeoman's work on Sessions, and a guy that had really done great work through 2 games for the Island Storm team.
So a foul on Mondi. First on number 11 in the blue. Anderson from 3. No problem there as Anthony Anderson calmly drains the tray.
And a terrific screen there by Tim Mitchell and a good play call from the bench from Coach Salerno. Coach Spahn looking for a illegal screen, but that was just good contact from Tim Mitchell.
Ahmed plays catch with Charles Mann. Mann puts it on the floor, takes it straight into Mitchell. And Mitchell just puts the arms up and takes that right into the chest.
And a little principle, for those of you that aren't familiar with how the professional game is refereed, there's a principle of verticality that they give the big guys inside. If they can get up in the air as long as their arms are straight up. And Tim felt his arms were straight up, but I think good call there. He kind of, and it's tough to fight that feeling. You want to reach out and try to block that shot, and Tim just couldn't control his arms there a little bit.
You got the call for the over-the-top foul, so that sends Mann to the line. He's good on the first points of the afternoon for the Highlanders, and 2 for 2 from the line is Charles Mann, the young man out of Atlanta, Georgia. You attended the University of Georgia down there in Atlanta. Outside for Thomas for 3, front of the rim. Nice job there getting the rebound. Stewart feeds it to Anderson, and Anderson, he is money from outside. Calm, cool, collected is double A. He hits the tray.
And you can tell he's feeling real confident early. He didn't hesitate at that. With a nice feed in the pocket.
Talking on defense now, right in the face of Mondi. Mondi couldn't get that shot to drop, and now it's Williams back the other way.
And Jeremy, just a little mental mistake there. He thought he had double A on the wing. Just wasn't there.
So 9-2, early 7-point lead here for the Magic. Brooks gets it to Stewart. Ari Stewart stops, puts up the shot. Nothing happening there. Ari Stewart, the leading scorer on this Highlander team through 2 games, averaging 20 points.
Got away with some steps there a little bit. Felt he got hit on the arm on the shot. But that's a good challenge there, and that's what the Magic have been doing now these last couple of games, challenging everything. Anything that the opposition's put up the last 2 days in this building has been under the Magic defensive terms.
Mitchell being watched by Ahmed, and Ahmed right on top of Mitchell, and Mitchell just tried to bull his way along the baseline, and he'll draw the foul.
Yeah, and he can get away. He's one of the few guys in this league that can get away with that kind of play. He's got soft hands, soft feet, and the power to go with it. And Timmy, a player of the game in this building last night, and he was all smiles in our post-game interview, and he's the one returning vet in this Moncton squad, and he was a popular pick from the fans in this building for player of the game last night.
And they've got 32 listed as Seamus Ferguson, but quite clearly on the back of 32's jersey is Ahmed. Ahmed was listed as number 30 in the program, but just for clarification, if you're seeing 32, it is indeed Ali Ahmed.
That's true, yep.
Ahmed, who did get that last foul in his first, dumps it inside. Nice move there. Twisting underneath the basket was Duke Mondi. Tough looking shot. He's averaging 16.5 a game through the first 2. Looked good on that bucket right underneath.
That was a tough finish through a lot of arms. There's double A wide open.
And Anthony Anderson gives himself a little slap on the derriere, and I think he's feeling it early on. Here is Anthony Anderson.
Yeah, it's 3 for 3 for double A, and when a guy like him gets hot this early, it bodes not well for the visiting team.
Ahmed over to the other side. Ari Stewart being guarded there by Williams. Williams reaches in, but nice job as Stewart had a hand right in his face, but he sinks the jumper.
Yeah, and he's got lots of size, kind of a similar player to Jeremy Williams. It's a good matchup over there. Long guy, athletic, can shoot that ball.
And Anderson.
I think some lobbying from Coach Spahn might have made some impact on the referee, and they got Timmy Mitchell on a moving screen there.
Yeah, second foul for Mitchell, so he'll take a seat on the bench now. Anthony Cox checks into the contest, a 6'9", 235-pound center out of West Hempstead, New York. Comes in and gets some action here with 6:52 to go in quarter number 1. 8-point lead for the Magic. Brooks gives it off to Mann. Mann from the outside. That one's no good, and it comes down into the waiting arms of Terry Thomas, who outlets now to Jeremy Williams. Williams puts on the brakes there, being watched by Stewart. Nice little look inside for Cox, and Cox had a defender in front of him, and then Ahmed came right over the back, flying in to swat that ball away, and now Cox and Ahmed have a couple of words.
And Anthony, one of the 3 Magic players with a double-double last night. It's a rare occurrence, just like that 50-rebound margin. Rare occurrence to have all 3 guys in your front court with double-doubles, but that goes to show the yeoman's work they did last night.
Daquan Brooks putting the D on Stewart. Al Stewart just blows right by him, goes to the right hand, kisses it off the glass, and a 2-point bucket there for Stewart.
When Tim Hardaway did that, they called it the UTEP two-step. And Al put him in the mixer there.
And the southpaw Brooks, no good on that jumper. Into the contest now is number 10.
And Al Stewart, he get lost out on the rebound there, but those unbelievable hands of his, giving Magic possessions all over the place.
Hakeem Johnson, very familiar with Coach Spahn, played for him in Rochester for the Razor Sharks, also played for him in St. John. And now the veteran joins Coach Spahn here in Cape Breton as Cox drains the jump shot.
Anthony Cox between the legs and the step back. Not something he's known for, but feeling super confident.
Strong move inside by Ahmed. Came close, but no go, and Anderson back the other way. Anderson being watched by Mann, tried to step around him. And we'll wait to see what the call is here.
And Ahmed initiating a lot of contact on both ends of the floor, playing with a lot of physicality. Familiar sight from the fans from last night here.
That foul called on Mann, his first. So a timeout called here. 5:31 left to play in the first quarter. Not quite the energetic start, the back and forth pace that we had in last night's game, but at least on the scoreboard, a similar story here midway through the quarter as the Magic have built a double-digit lead, 18-6.
Yeah, I think the Highlanders aren't playing at the same speed as the Island Storm were last night. Island felt they could play the same pace as the Magic, especially coming off a win on the Island a couple days before, but I don't think the Highlanders feel they can play at the pace with the Magic, trying to slow things down. They just haven't made the shots that the Magic have at the offensive end.
So again, talking to Coach Rob Spahn before the game, he admittedly said, look, we've got a young squad, and he knows that. And I said to him, I said, Coach, if I can get a chance, maybe I'll chat to you just before tip, about some of your coach keys to the day. And he looked at me and he kind of laughed and he goes, keys? He goes, we just need to stop everybody on the Magic team. So.
Yeah, he was effusive, I would be fair to say, with the word in his praise for what Coach Salerno put together. I had a chance to eavesdrop on their pregame conversation, and he was very, very enthusiastic about what Coach Salerno and the ownership have put together here, and he was very happy to see Anthony Anderson get this kind of a landing spot after leaving St. John, and he was very, very, like I say, effusive in the praise, and was very concerned about how his young squad would react against such a veteran, talent-laden squad here in Magic. And listen, 18-6 isn't a good start, but you've said it every game so far. This league is a game of runs, and these are professional basketball players with a lot of talent, and you can't sleep on it. A 12-point lead at any point, let alone the first quarter.
So here we go. 5.5 left to play in quarter number 1. Stewart now as the Magic work their half-court offense. Down baseline, this is Baines. Terrell Baines takes it strong, right-hand runner. Went off the front and then the back of the rim, and then comes down into the hands of the Highlanders, and Daquan Brooks will bring it up the floor. Brooks gets it back outside, wide open is Hakeem Johnson from well downtown, and Johnson, nice stroke there to hit the 3.
And that's something that he can do. He's a big guy, got some size, but he can knock that down with his feet set.
18-9, Magic lead. Baines gives it off to Stewart. Again, you see that matchup of Daquan Brooks on Al Stewart, and no problem for the young man from Chicago, Illinois.
Al showing some similar confidence. The Highlander came out of that timeout going one possession of zone and then right back to the man-to-man. The zone got them a stop. We'll see if they go back to it.
Man takes it strong baseline, but nothing but a mass of Magic players there. And Thomas now coast to coast, steps off to the right and puts that little shot up, and no problem there, end to end. Nice play by Thomas.
And Terry kept his head up, and that kept the defender off balance, wondering where the ball was going to go.
And there's some good defense again as Al Stewart comes over to visit our broadcast position here as he runs right by us.
Always nice to see Al. How you doing?
Good to see Al. And looks like he might have hit his hand there on the way through.
And he would be upset if I didn't take this opportunity to call him two-time NBL Canada Defensive Player of the Year, Al Stewart. Apparently he thinks we should start that. We should start his introduction that way every single time.
Maybe we could nickname him Two-Time Al.
Two-Time Al? There you go.
So 4:07 left to play. Highlanders with the ball. Mondi on this near side, down to the corner, 3. And right now the Highlanders having a hard time getting their range as Reynolds was short on that. Stewart now calmly steps over midcourt. Goes behind the back, gets it over to Baines, and they'll work it off to the wing for Terry Thomas. Thomas, 2 defenders on him, gets it off to Baines back in the corner, and Terrell Baines hits that no problem at all. And all of a sudden, 25 points up on the board, and we've still got 3:35 to go in the quarter. 25-9 Magic lead.
Everybody's oozing confidence of this ball movement. Terrell Baines had a couple first tough games initially for the Magic, and he's come into his own these last 2.
Hakeem Johnson didn't see anywhere to put the ball. Decides to put it up from way outside. Goes off the rim, top of the backboard, and now Corey Allman back the other way. Mondi is on him. Allman kicks it back out to Stewart. Stewart thought about going to Thomas, decides to put it on the floor. Gives it to Allman from outside. No good there. Rebound right along that baseline, and a couple of players fighting for it. Reaching in there was DeMarcus Harrison.
Well, you love to see it. Terrell Baines, Anthony Cox digging for every offensive board they can get their hands on. And Al's still rubbing his hand a little bit as he checks out. Probably get looked at a little bit.
So the rookie from St. Mary's Huskies University days, Marquise Clayton, into the game. As Stewart takes a seat on the bench. Hakeem Johnson being D'd up there by Baines, goes behind the back to Mondi. Clayton on him. Mondi spins around, kicks it out to Johnson, and Johnson goes right over top of Baines, who had the feet planted. And Hakeem Johnson trying to set some kind of a tone here and see if the rest of his teammates will follow for the Highlanders.
Yeah, but it's a tone that the Magic have set now here two days in a row, and it's not going to affect Moncton's disposition at all. That was Terrell did have his feet set there, but he had a hand check in, slowing him down on his way to the hoop. But again, the effort defensively is what's making the difference here. So far, as pretty as the offensive end looks, it's this end that's setting the tone for the Magic.
And Mondi, nice job to go into the lane and switch off to that left hand and take it off the glass. So good bucket there from Mondi. Thomas now goes right into the chest of DeMarcus Harrison.
And Coach McKillop, I was talking, the assistant coach for the Moncton Magic, I was talking to him before the game and about the performance of the big guys, and he said an underrated part of their performance last night was the hedging they did on the screens up top. And we'll talk a little bit more about that the next break in the action we get.
2:25 left in the corner, 13 on the shot clock. Thomas kicks it out, zips that ball right along baseline to Cox, and maybe a little too much pace on that pass as Cox couldn't quite get the handle on it, and they turn it over to the Highlanders.
Again, great offense. So when Anthony's patting his chest a little bit, he could have caught that. It was had a little fire behind it.
So the Highlanders will slow it down a little bit now. Mondi gives it off. Shot from about 18 feet out of the hands of Harrison. Couldn't find the mark. And back up the other way comes Marquise Clayton. Clayton dishes to Allman. Quick ball movement now to Thomas on the wing. Thomas, now he gets a couple of defenders on him, is coming over to help out. Everybody down to the floor. And Clayton tried to get it to the corner, but it's intercepted. Nice play by Mondi. Gives it off to Johnson. Johnson scoops it up with the right hand and in. So good job there defensively by the Highlanders, and then a good transition bucket going down the floor as Mondi fed it to Johnson, and Johnson gets the bucket. Here's ball kicked over from Allman now over to that wing, and no problem there as the 3-ball hit from the rookie, Marquise Clayton.
What's been impressive about him so far is his bounce back ability. Turn it over on one possession, doesn't let it get to his head, comes back, runs good offense, and nails the open 3.
Hakeem Johnson dumps it off there for Mondi. And from downtown, Harrison long range. And then dives along the floor trying to get that ball. Whenever I see a player do that, I go back to my old school basketball days when I was a big fan of Larry Bird, and there was a well-known Larry Bird quote. It was actually one of the earlier memes before there was even social media.
It was on a poster in my room.
Yeah, it was basically loosely quoted was he just hates it when he sees a player watch a ball go out of bounds.
Yep.
So it was a mean before memes were a thing.
Memes before memes were a thing, yeah.
So Marquise Clayton now being worked on defensively by Monty. Clayton, nice job to step around him and kind of lost the handle there as he got caught in between a couple of Cape Breton defenders.
And we talked a little bit last night about Coach Salerno's constant coaching of Marquise, and we talked a little bit about that before the game too. And he said he's proud of Marquise and how he's reacted to some tough coaching, and he likes it because he's a tough kid.
Almond launched that one from Shippigan, but it's no good. And now Clayton decides to let it go from Edmundston, and again no good. Well, there's one thing about this Moncton Magic team. They like the 3-ball, but not only do they like the 3-ball, they have no problem being 5, 6, 7 feet behind the arc.
And look, if their feet, and they're such strong, they got such strength in their legs in this backcourt. They can rise and fire from anywhere, and they just need a small space to get it off. And the other reason they're so confident about that shot is exactly what we're seeing. These big guys, when they're on the floor, they do not allow the defense of Cape Breton or Island or anyone else to get away without having to box them out every possession. They make you box them out. They make you earn your defensive boards.
So 36.2 left in the quarter as Baines gets the hometown roll on the rim to get that second free throw to go. So 30-13, 17-point advantage here for the Magic. So about a 8-second or 12-second differential between shot and game. Shot goes off glass. Rebound was put back by Ferguson. And back comes Clayton now with some pace. Kicks it out there to Almond. Almond steps around the defender, puts the shot off from about 12 feet. Couldn't get it to go. 16.5 left in the quarter. Shot clock is off.
Didn't hold for the last one there, and I don't think Coach Salerno wanted that. He wanted a fast breaker or pull it back out.
Daquan Brooks kicks it over to Ferguson. Ferguson goes in against Cox, and Cox shakes the head and said, not on my watch.
And he's still talking about it. And Anthony, these guys look so confident right now. This is our house, this painted area, and you're not going to come in here.
So point 8, it's going to have to be a quick catch and shoot here. Brooks to inbound. Ferguson has it, and he hits it at the buzzer. DeMarcus Harrison. Well, I said it had to be a quick catch and shoot. They had point 8 to work with, and they made the point 8 work for them. They get the bucket.
That was way too easy, and they'll have something negative to talk about at the timeout after a largely successful first quarter here that leaves them with a 15-point or 17-point advantage. I'm not sure if they changed the score there yet, but in any event, that's a little too easy. You know where that ball's going with 0.8 seconds on the clock, and it should have been a better challenge there.
So they're doing a little bit of adjusting with the score on the clock here. Right now it's showing 28-15. And with that 3-ball at the buzzer, if you want to know how things went for the Cape Breton Highlanders in that first quarter, with that 3-ball at the buzzer, DeMarcus Harrison now becomes the leading scorer for the Cape Breton Highlanders. Previous to that, Ari Stewart, Charles Mann, and Duke Mondi with 2 points each were the leading scorers for the Highlanders. And on the other side, pretty well distributed scoring for the Moncton Magic, but it was the veteran Anthony Anderson leading the way, 3 of 4 from the floor, including 2 of 3 from outside the arc. So he had 8 points to lead the way for the Magic in a pretty good first quarter for them as they hang 30 on the board, and they've got a 30-15 lead. What stood out for you in that quarter?
Well, we spoke a little bit about I mentioned it briefly about the discussion that Coach McKillop and I had about the big guys defensively. And they have a very, very specific plan about how they want to handle every team in this league, because the basics of this league are spread the floor, run and gun. But in the half court, again, spread the floor and attack off ball screens is very, very common. So you have to have a very specific plan of how you're going to defend that. And they've been very, very pleased the last couple games with how the big guys have gotten out on screens. Screen and roll, get really wide and defend, and give those guards no visual area in which they see to go. If you make yourself at 6'10", 6'9", really big and wide and down in a stance with your arms up high, they don't see visually any space to go, and they back it back out and swing it. And if you stay home and are very good with each and every of those screen rolls, suddenly that shot clock's going down. You got to create something, and that dictates the defense is dictating where that shot's coming from.
And you just saw Coach Salerno talking to his team during that quarter timeout, and if you didn't know the score and you just looked at Coach's expression as he was delivering the message to his team, you wouldn't think that he was up by 15.
Well, I think that last 0.8 of seconds, sometimes as a coach, when you've had a really strong quarter and things are going really well, you want something little that you can pick on just to get in the rear about. And they gave him something there with that defensive effort with 0.8 on the clock. So I think he's in the rear about, look, this is a professional squad across from you. It's time to dig in and not back down even though you're up 15 early.
Our officiating crew this evening, or this afternoon I should say, same crew as worked the game last night between Moncton and the Island Storm. Paul Hansen, Brian States, and Brett Stalker. And right now, Paul Hansen over having a elongated conversation with Coach Spahn from the Highlanders. In the meantime, Williams puts the first shot of the second quarter up, and right back the other way with it comes Daquan Brooks.
Great design play out of the first quarter break. Still, the Magic getting pretty much any shot they want in that end.
Ari Stewart gets it off to Brooks. He's being watched by Allman. Back to the quarter for Stewart. Stewart for three. That's a little bit short. It goes off the front of the iron. And Marquise Clayton now will control and bring it up over half court for the Magic. Brooks out on him. Brooks eyeing that ball. Clayton dumps it off to Anderson. Cox runs the screen for Anderson. Anderson for three. No problem at all for the veteran.
Feeling it. And again, just a beautiful ball screen. And the Highlanders not doing the same job defensively with those big guys coming out and challenging Anthony, as we talked about the Magic doing on the other end.
Harrison, cross court now to Reynolds. Reynolds takes it strong, baseline right up against Cox. And they're going to call Cox for the foul.
And a good challenge by Anthony. Even though he took the worst end of that, he's going to be happy with his performance there. It's your building, and you don't give up layups, and they haven't been doing that these last two nights. No layups in the paint for the opposition.
So that was a strong move there by Jamal Reynolds, a young man from Toronto, Ontario. Some more Canadian content here in the NBL. Great to see. I think we talked about it on the first broadcast, but this year the league increasing the quota from 4 Canadian players to 5 opens up more opportunities for Canadian basketball product. Good to see.
They felt comfortable doing that because of the quality that they're seeing coming into this league and every other league around the world. Canadian content is strong everywhere.
Well, we're seeing that the Canadian game very healthy and at a grassroots level as well. As basketball fans would know, this very recently this past summer, the Canadian U19 team capturing the World Championship, a stunning victory over the United States in the semifinal, and had a chance to talk to one of the assistants on that team, or an advisor, Coach Steve Konchalski, and he was incredibly proud of that effort, and he just glows, as you say, about the Canadian basketball talent that's coming up through the ranks.
And it's not just the playing talent as Jeremy Williams rises and fires again, but the coaching talent. Roy Rana, the coaching squad, that they get a lot of respect around the world, and well, they should.
Nice look there. Little jumper put up from Stewart, and the Cape Breton Highlanders leading scorer on the season, Ari Stewart. Smooth looking jump shot to put a deuce on the board. 35-19 now as Clayton brings it back up. Clayton uses the screen there from Cox, and then Allman feeds it into Cox. Back to Williams. Williams outside the arc, dumps it back into Cox. Cox looking for somewhere to go, barges his way into the paint, went to the left hand underneath, and the little tip back. And I think they're going to give credit to Cox on the bucket. I thought Williams might have gotten a little tap in, but
Cox got the roll, and a soft roll, and that's a tough finish with the left hand from the big guy, but he got it to go.
Under 10 minutes to go. Stewart from well outside hits the tray. So Stewart now trying to see if he can three-ball his team back into this one.
Kind of single-handedly keeping them in the conversation here so far is Ari Stewart.
So Clayton, again, being watched by Brooks. A tenacious defender is number 3, Daquan Brooks. Clayton with the double team, wide open, top of the arc is Williams, and no mistake, Jeremy Williams drains that. He was wide open, and a nice job by Clayton to draw the double team and then kick it back out to Williams.
Great decision by Marquise. And great setup before the decision. Just knew where to maneuver to create that space for Jeremy.
So a couple of substitutions coming in here now. Al Stewart back into the game, as well as Tim Mitchell. Marquise Clayton and Terry Thomas will head over to the Moncton Magic bench.
And Terry Thomas had a quick start, as you talked about last night, and has played fine so far, but been pretty quiet, and that shows you how this is going to work offensively for the Magic this year. They're going to have so many guys that can step up and score in bunches that it's going to be kind of a by committee every night.
Anderson basically runs a 360 around the paint and then kicks it out to Thomas. Thomas couldn't get that long bomb to go, and Brooks will bring it back up. Quick pass cross court, working with it there is Harrison. Harrison gives it back to Brooks. Al Stewart out on him, stepping into him was Osiandi. And now it's Ahmed, dips it back inside to Osiandi. But good hands there. Williams challenged from behind, and then Al Stewart was able to pick up the loose ball, and he'll bring it back up the floor.
Just the length and the athleticism of the Magic is just so obvious.
Williams baseline, strong move, and he'll go to the line for the and one. And Williams flexing the muscle after that move along the baseline.
Pumping some iron, and well he should. And Jeremy's looking deadly out there today, and destined to become a fan favorite with his fun-loving attitude and positive demeanor. And we did a little film job with him before the game with the young guys here on the floor from the Minor Basketball Association.
Yeah, he was taking on a young man by the name of Morgan, who plays for the Moncton area Kiwanis Youth Basketball League. And
how much do you think we'll have to offer Morgan to get him under contract?
Well, I'll tell you, Morgan was feeling good about his D. He said, you know what? He goes, anybody watching, they're going to know I can play some D. That's all he was talking about. Listen, was his defense.
Jeremy had to call Terrell Baines over to set a screen to get open.
Back the other way now, the Highlanders. Reynolds, awkward looking shot as he kind of went up and did a half splits in the air up against Mitchell. And Mitchell takes the foul, and again, just I don't know how to describe that move into the air from Reynolds.
Well, when he got up there, he wasn't happy about it because he was met by Tim Mitchell, and Tim's got to go right back out again with his third foul. And this was a point of discussion on our broadcast with the franchise here in Moncton last year. Tim Mitchell averaged almost 5 fouls a game, which is pretty difficult to do, but he's just so physical, and he's very conscious of helping out his guards. If they listen, guards are going to get beat off the dribble. There's too many talented guys, and you gotta let them know as a big guy. Look, I'm here to back you up. I'll send a guy to the line if I need to.
So as you mentioned, Mitchell takes a seat with the fouls, Kevin Farrell Thomas checks in to spell him, and not a bad situation. You could take a 6'9", 260 guy out and replace him with a 6'8", 270 guy. So they certainly don't lose anything in size when Farrell Thomas comes in. And nice dish inside to Anderson. Anderson went up against the defense there of Hakeem Johnson, and Johnson stood his ground well right underneath the bucket with the charging Anderson coming right at him, but Johnson does take the foul.
And Al Stewart was really heaped the praise on the young Canadians here on the bench. They came off and performed so well last night. Kevin Farrell Thomas among them, and we'll talk later about, I'm sure, Shawnee Day. And the third one in that trio is Denzel Taylor, and we'll talk more about them as the game goes by, I'm sure.
43-24, Magic leading here. 7:51 to go in the half. Brooks dumps it off for Mondi. Mondi goes over to the corner for Johnson. Williams right in his face. Johnson steps back.
Great defense by Jeremy, just on the closeout to start, and then not going for any of the multiple head and body fakes.
Double A back the other way now. Anthony Anderson working on his man. Ahmed came out to give a little help. Right into a crowd, giving it off to Thomas, and Terry Thomas slashes along the baseline, scoops underneath the bucket and gets it to go.
Double A, always looking, always unselfish. And Terry slashing along the baseline, moving out the ball effectively.
Long pass here over onto the side. Mondi tried to get it inside to Ahmed, and giving some defense on him was Farrell Thomas. But you know, just to finish some thoughts there on Anthony Anderson, you saying that he's unselfish. Probably nobody in the building knows Anthony Anderson better than the coach of the Highlanders, Rob Spahn. He coached him for a number of years, and that was the comment that he made as he watched Anthony Anderson during the shoot-around. He said, probably the most unselfish player I've ever coached.
Yeah, and there's those hands of Al Stewart again.
Terry Thomas bounces it to Anderson. Anderson settles it down just a little bit. Mondi is out on him. Over now for Williams, bounces it inside. Good look for Farrell Thomas, and Thomas just couldn't get the handle on. But again, even though Farrell Thomas couldn't get the handle on that, a nice look in the half court from the Magic.
Yeah, well run, just didn't execute, and that's going to happen. We talked a little, I heard a little bit from the coaching staff before the game too about Kevin Farrell Thomas. Took himself a wide open three last night, and Anthony Anderson looked at him and said, hey, Kevin, take 3 steps in and take your shot. And the coaches just looked at each other and said, hey, he's going to listen to. It's better coming from Anthony than any of us. That's the respect that these guys have for AA.
And flying in to try to put the rebound back there was Hakeem Johnson, but he couldn't finish it, and the Magic will bring it right back up the floor. 6:30 to go. It's a 21-point lead for the Magic. That ball bounced inside. Farrell Thomas kind of over the back with that little hook shot there as Ahmed was giving us some problems defensively underneath.
Yeah, I just went a little too fast there. He's got to slow himself down.
Hakeem Johnson trying to shake and bake in there on Williams. Dumped it off to Ahmed, and Ahmed goes strong baseline against Terry Thomas.
Yeah, Kevin got himself going a little too quick at the other end. Sometimes when with a little bit of inexperience, you get in your mind, I'm going to make a very specific move right now instead of reacting to what the defense does. That seemed to be what Kevin did. He got a little hurried, and I'm sure this is what's going to be a little coaching spot here as he comes off the floor.
So Anthony Cox into the game now as Farrell Thomas will take a seat, and to the line goes Ali Ahmed, the young man out of Alexandria, Egypt. The Egyptian import attended post-secondary at Cal State Fullerton in Bakersfield, California. Or excuse me, Bakersfield, I should say, in Cal State. Williams, top of the key, gives it off to Anderson. Anderson steps way back. There's that great ball moving along the perimeter into the corner. Couldn't get that one to drop, and coming back the other way is Duke Mondi. Mondi challenged from behind by Cox, goes to the floor. Great job to keep that ball alive as he got it to man over on the wing. Hakeem Johnson now steps in against Stewart. Big size mismatch there. Goes inside to Ahmed, goes up over top of Cox, and that's a good sequence right there for the Cape Breton Highlanders, finished off by Ahmed.
And Coach Salerno not happy with Anthony Cox on that end.
And Williams now 3 times underneath.
Staying with it. You see that repertoire he's got. He goes to that Euro step. That's a guard move, and then he's got those quick springs and strong hands of a big guy.
Man, back outside to Hakeem Johnson. Johnson being watched by Williams. Steps back, puts up the tray, and gets it to go. Hakeem Johnson. A little swagger there as he shakes and bakes going back up the floor.
Can't do much with that. If a guy's going to make that shot, you just look at him and say, well done.
Terry Thomas, double team, gets it off to Williams. No good on that one, and Ahmed right there to box out, grab the board, and send it back up the other way, now into the hands of Daquan Brooks. Feeds it to Mann. Mann got hung up in the air, tried to feed Ahmed with it, and they turn it over. Here comes Al Stewart. Daquan Brooks trying to stay with him. Stewart goes strong in, draws the foul, and he'll go to the line to shoot 2.
And Al really picks his spots offensively. He's not a guy that's going to be a leading scorer in probably any one game for the Magic this year, but he really does a good job of picking his spots offensively and know when to attack. And he had a guy back in his heels like that. He knew to drive hard.
Al Stewart turned that defensive stance into offense quickly with that rush up the floor in transition. Brooks did his best to get up and catch him from behind, but Brooks did take the foul, and we've got a media timeout now while they do some of that great fan interaction on the floor.
Kind of a flat spot here a little bit for the – you talk about the youth here. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say the young man actually doing the camera work that's actually shooting this right now is the son of my best friend in the world. This is Alex Duguay. He's a music enthusiast. He loves guitar, and he's doing wireless camera right now for the fan experience on the floor. And I think you know the guy from the radio station that's doing the fan experience.
Well, listen, that's look, the Magic have done a really a super professional job with getting the right people in here on the floor, in the front office, and even guys like that. And that's Mo Jacob, and he works for C103, and he's doing a spectacular job as the host here. So.
And it's nice to see the youth involvement, and a lot of kids come out to the game. You know, we talked about the youth basketball players that are, helping out with the shoot around before the game, and that's what it's all about. A team like this, they can really make a connection in the community and with the kids. And
I think they're trying to send a strong message that this is a team that's here to stay. Ownership's been really out front in the community about what's important to them, and what's important to them is this being Moncton's team. Not championships are great, but they want to build a long-lasting product here that people can be proud of on and off the floor. And I think they've they've really done that so far, and it's been really impressive to watch. And I think the fan experience in the building even is night and day versus last year. And I think people that come into this building, they're going to feel that right off the bat.
You see there, just for a moment, Brett Stalker having a chat with Anthony Cox. So Stewart to the line now after drawing that foul from Daquan Brooks. 4:33 left to go here in the half.
And a little bit of a flat spot here lately the last couple minutes for the Magic. They've lost a little bit of that spark and energy that's maybe a little complacency here setting in before halftime with a little bit of a big lead.
And Stewart can't hit, and he's not happy with himself as he lets out kind of a big groan as he comes off the line.
And another young Canadian, Denzel Taylor, who's given them strong minutes off the glass and on the defensive end, has checked in for the Magic.
Daquan Brooks to Hakeem Johnson, puts it up from outside, and Johnson, money from 3.
And they sent him through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screens there. Denzel Taylor didn't know which way to look. Still got a hand on his face, but it didn't matter. He's hot.
Well outside now to Stewart. Goes back to Anderson. Anderson short from outside the arc, and the Highlanders will come back the other way again. Now corner, Daquan Brooks steps back, and look at that. Defensively flying in to contest the shot was Al Stewart. Brooks thought he was wide open, took a look, stepped back, and when he looked up, he had Al Stewart right in his face, and then back the other way is Taylor.
You mean two-time Al?
Two-time Al, that's right. And you know, I'm sure Daquan Brooks, he got that ball in the corner. He looked down to see where he was, took the step back, and by the time he had looked up and had gone in to launch the shot, he had Al Stewart flying in right in his face to contest.
Yeah, that quickness of Al's, those two weapons he has, such quick feet and such amazing hands to deflect, and both were on display there.
Man steps into Thomas, good defense there by Terry.
Well done.
And here comes Anderson right back up the other way. Anderson now will set, go around that screen, gets it over to Terry Thomas. Thomas being watched there by Mann. 10 seconds on the shot clock. Thomas stops, pops, gets it to go. I thought he was going to get it to go. It spoke too soon. It rolled around the rim. And Hakeem Johnson now will come back the other way. Good handles there, puts it on the floor, gets it inside to Ahmed. Ahmed lost the handling again. Hitting the deck is Mann. That's several times now we've seen Charles Mann diving along the floor to try to make a save or to push a ball to a teammate. An active player is number 6, Charles Mann.
And again, as the story so often is defensively, it's just, the story is deflections. And that's what what the Magic emphasizes here on the defensive end and what they do so well. And they got guys like Terry Thomas and Al Stewart and Anthony Anderson and Jeremy Williams, that big bodies, long arms, to get so many deflections.
Nice look there as Thomas got it to a wide open Denzel Taylor, who was cutting along the baseline, and Taylor, pretty easy bucket for 5 in gray. Back the other way is Mondi now, and Thomas from behind tapped it away.
And those quick hands again, making the Highlanders reset their offense. And
2:39 left to play in the half, a 50-35 lead for the Magic. And the Highlanders, bit by bit, have tiny bit at a time have chipped away and made this a 15-point game.
Well done there, the combination, Terrell Baines and Terry Thomas.
Good defense right in front of the Magic bench, much to the delight of Coach Joe Salerno, who got the hands clapping together after that turnover.
Yeah, this squad's trying to get a little bit of a fire back into the squad, into the building. Big lead early.
And Thomas took that challenge from Mann right up into the face, and you saw Thomas's head snap back, and he went down to the floor, and Charles Mann just kind of grinning behind the play, saying, I'm playing some D right there.
Yeah, and you got to be physical. I mean, the problem is that the Highlanders have is the same problem the Island did last night. In a battle of physicality, you're going to lose more often than not to this Magic squad. They've got such length and strength and flexibility here at all 5 positions.
So Ahmed checks out. Back into the game is 22, Asiandi. 11 seconds on the shot clock. Thomas being watched there. That's a good matchup right down along the baseline. Thomas steps back. Terry Thomas, no problem at all. Facing all kinds of defensive pressure from Duke Mondi, but nothing that Thomas couldn't handle on that possession.
Not his favorite, a post turnaround, but when you're feeling it the way the Magic are.
Johnson wide open for 3, and Johnson again feeling the range from well outside the arc, and he hits another 3-ball, and it's a 14-point lead now, 52-38. Inside 2 minutes to go, 147 to be exact. Baines to Thomas. Thomas through a crowd, steps over to the left. Couldn't get the friendly roll off the iron, and it's last touched by a Magic player, so it'll be possession Highlanders, and I think Joe Salerno wants a timeout here. I think he kind of senses what we're sensing, is that there's almost a bit of a sag here in the Magic.
Yeah, he really is, and I think the sag has come a little bit from on the offensive end. We've seen them certainly last night, and for the first quarter of this game, we saw just ball movement, whipping from side to side. It's gone a little bit stale here. Ball's gone to one side. A talented player offensively has gotten their hands on it and tried to make things happen one-on-one. A little bit more sharing, I think is in the books for the Magic at the offensive end.
Catch the tail end of your pregame interview there for a moment. Well, there's certainly an attempt by everybody involved with this Moncton Magic organization to have a complete experience from beginning to end, and those segments that you do with the players pre and post game, certainly part of that. And you know, I can certainly say from my experience here through the first few games that the fans of the Moncton Magic are in for a real nice treat here with this franchise, and I would strongly encourage folks to come out and to see what it's like to experience a game. Yeah, it's great that we have these broadcasts and you can watch from wherever around the world on the internet, but truly, if you get a chance, come out and experience this game day experience with the Moncton Magic. It's a lot of fun.
And check out the website too. It's an unbelievable job the social media team's done. And that website is something to behold. They did a really good job with it. And you can see all those interviews if you miss them there as well. They're saving them all. And a great interview is Al Stewart. Personality, much? That guy's got it in spades. Game in spades and personality in spades. It's a great combo, and he's destined to be a fan favorite here, just as he was on the island.
Well, you know what? Overall, this entire Moncton squad, just a great group of young men. There's no doubt about it. This is Baines now blowing his way in, charging into the defender. Great job underneath by Stewart as he tried to fight for that ball. Shot clock runs out, and Johnson will grab up the loose ball and get it forward. Tried to feed it up to Mondi. Now it's man.
Another deflection by Anthony there, preventing a wide open three.
Little confusion there for a moment, but it's dumped off to Brooks. Only 7 seconds left on the shot clock. Oceandi now will give it to Brooks. They've got to do something quick here. Daquan Brooks decides to take it to the lane, and oh my goodness. Denzel Taylor would have none of that. A giant size mismatch there as the 6'8 Taylor defending on the 5'10 Brooks. And more often than not, Denzel Taylor's going to win that battle.
And a perfect illustration of what we talked about with the big guys playing that screen roll. He came out and challenged. It gave him no space. And when he was forced to make something up at the end of the clock, Denzel had the eraser.
Stewart, good hands there from Brooks. And now back the other way is Mondi. Duke Mondi, smooth through the lane. Follow up there. Rebound chance, Mondi again. This time gets it to Oceandi. So good effort there from a couple of members of the Highlanders, including Oceandi as well as Mann.
Denzel felt pretty strongly that he got all ball on that reach in, but look, you work hard the way the Highlanders have, and they really have at the offensive end to create themselves some second opportunities against a pretty talented defensive squad here from Moncton. It's great, and look, you do that enough times, you're going to earn some trips to the line like that.
And Coach Joe Salerno in the ear of referee Paul Hansen, I think, making that exact point that, hey, he got all ball. Can't call that. Coach Salerno's going to want a timeout here after this second. He didn't get the make, so he'll just let it roll out as Thomas brings it up the floor. Look at Thomas. Got a little energy going now, does Double T, Terry Thomas. Now is Anthony Anderson again, circling through the lane, going from one side, cutting to the other, going to the left hand. And the Cape Breton Highlanders not happy about the defensive breakdown, but a little bit of energy for the Moncton Magic.
And Anthony Anderson so calm and cool and collected with an end of a end of a shot clock, game clock coming like that to you. So often you panic and take the first one you look at. And he had a look at a 3, but he knew he had 6-7 seconds to create something. And you give Anthony Anderson time and space to create, and that's what you're going to get.
Well, I mean, this Moncton Magic team, I mean, it's hard not to keep referencing the veteran leadership that they have. But, I've called a lot of different games, and when you've got a team like this and you just see what happened at the end, but you look up and down the line, if there's any number of guys that can take the reins and make something happen in the late stages of a quarter, of a game, and just show that veteran leadership, it's almost an embarrassment of riches for Coach Joe Salerno and the Magic.
And Coach Spahn referenced it before the game, and it's a known thing, known commodity in this league right now that the Moncton Magic have this level of talent. It was a discussion of whether they would be able to put it all together and make the whole even greater than the sum of its parts. And I think last night was an indication of when it all runs smoothly and perfectly together, what can it look like? And I think today, I don't think the Magic would say that was a perfect half of basketball, but here it comes. It's not a perfect half, but it's a 16-point lead.
Well, just a couple of quick statistics from that first half. The Magic shot just over 51% from the floor, 20 of 39. Much more difficult shooting half for the Highlanders, 31.7% going 13 of 41 from the floor. Magic were 6 of 16 from three-point range for 37.5%, 5 of 11 for a better percentage at 45.5 for the Cape Breton Highlanders. And from the charity stripe, Magic going 6 of 9 and the Highlanders 7 of 9, so pretty even there. And in terms of high scores, leading the way for the Moncton Magic, 6 of 9 from the floor for 13 points was Jeremy Williams. Anthony Anderson with 12 of his own. On the other side, Lindsey Hunter, the son of former NBA player and Detroit Piston of the same name. Lindsey Hunter going 4 of 8 from the floor for 11 points. Ari Stewart with 7. So at the end of it all, it's a 54-38 lead for the Moncton Magic. And I think if you're Coach Rob Spahn, you're going to go into the dressing room. I think his message might be, okay, guys, that kind of was what we expected, but hey, we're kind of within striking distance here.
Rough start, but once they got into the flow of the game and sort of started to match the Magic's intensity and physicality, it went well for them. I think he's got a solid message. We can play with these guys. Just go back and go right back at them. Attack, be aggressive, don't back down, even though they're more experienced and got bigger names in the back of the jersey than you might. And I think that's a solid piece he can build on there the last really quarter and a half.
Well, as some of the youth basketball players, members of the Moncton Hawks, have a little inter-squad game on the floor here, we'll step aside and take a break. We'll be back with second half action in just about 12 minutes time. One half in the books. The Moncton Magic on top of the Cape Breton Highlanders, 54-38. You're watching live NBL basketball from the Moncton Coliseum. We'll be back in just a bit.
You're the person who teaches microbit. Yeah. Okay.
Welcome back to the Moncton Coliseum. Scott Squires along with my broadcast partner David Tingley. Just about set here for tip-off of the second half of this game between the home side Moncton Magic taking on the visitors from Cape Breton, the Highlanders. And a pretty successful half overall for the Moncton Magic in half number one. 54-38 the score, although there were moments where you got the feeling that maybe the air was out of their sails or the wind was out of their sails just a little bit. And we saw a couple of times where Coach Joe Salerno called some timeouts and was doing some active coaching over there on that Moncton Magic bench. And on the other side, the Cape Breton Highlanders, it would have been easy for them to kind of get buried under an avalanche of Magic offense, but they kind of stayed with it. They rode some of the shooting of Hakeem Johnson as well as Duke Mondi, and some good effort on the defensive side from Daquan Brooks, and they're hanging around right now.
They really are, and some of that's just human nature. You have a performance like the Magic had last night and a start like they had today, and you get up an early 15-point lead, and you can't help it. You just kind of get, yeah, we're good, and that's kind of the feeling that kind of developed there. But we'll see. I think if you, I'd be surprised if there wasn't a push on here by this potent Magic starting five here to start the second half.
So the Cape Breton Highlanders start with possession, and right away they try to light it up from outside. Rolls around the rim and comes down into the hands of the Moncton Magic, and they'll bring it right back up the floor.
They got exactly what they want, a well-designed play out of the half. Just went in and out.
Tim Mitchell had a chance to talk to his mom
during
the halftime. What a delightful lady.
Making her second visit to Moncton.
Mitchell spins around, gets the rebound, and Mom will like that, although she may not like the call here coming from the referee as Mitchell gets called for the offensive foul.
And Tim's getting a little bit frustrated again, and he's not surprised. That's his fourth foul, and he's been subbed in and out with quick whistles there so far today.
This is Ahmed now. Gets it to Brooks. Bounces it back inside to Ahmed. Mitchell right on top of him. Mitchell gets the position and goes up over top.
That's going to be number 5.
That is indeed. A couple of quick ones here for Mitchell in the first 39 seconds of this third quarter, and he'll head right to the bench.
And the problem is it's not his feet. He's in tremendous defense. He's in tremendous shape for one thing after losing weight in the offseason, but he's always in great position. He just gets a little too aggressive with that, and that was a great example. He did not need to at all. Ahmed was going to a really tough righty hook over a really tall outstretched arm of Tim Mitchell. Didn't need the reach in, but he got it.
So 5 fouls sends Mitchell to the bench, so his mom won't be happy about that.
Should be able to go get some nachos or some onion rings and wait for the next appearance of Tim, which probably won't be till late in the fourth quarter, if at all.
It was interesting. She said she came up this time of year, not in February, and living in Orlando, Florida, I could see why.
Yes, absolutely.
Thomas from downtown, that's a bit short as it hits the underneath the rim, just tickling off the mesh.
And a little scuffling start here for the Magic. Not what they want, not what we talked about, them getting a push here to start the second half.
And right now, the Highlanders have cut the lead to 14, and you know psychologically if they can somehow get it inside a double-digit lead, that is going to be a whole different perspective on this ball game for both squads. Ahmed faked giving it to a cutting Brooks, decides to take it himself. Now he gives it to Mondi. Mondi puts it on the floor, and the shot clock runs out on Mondi, so good defense there by the Magic. Yeah. And Coach Joe Salerno, very active off the bench right now in the ear of his team in the first couple of minutes of this second half.
A great response.
And Cox, challenged from behind by Stewart, looked to be wide open there, but a good job closing the distance by Stewart to contest that shot by Cox right underneath the rim.
Yeah, the Highlanders are a bit frustrated with themselves. They just did basics of whose man is this, with a sub in Anthony Cox for Tim Mitchell. And Anthony looks a little worse for wear after taking a shot to the back of the head, it looks like.
So I didn't get a good look at the socks that he's wearing tonight. He had the Rugrats socks going last night. He's definitely got something decorative going on. I just can't get a good look at what it is. We're going to find out where he gets his socks. He's got a strong sock game.
He's got his hosiery is stellar.
Couple of behind the back spins of the ball before Cox shoots the second. A hush falls over the building. And nothing but net on that follow through on the second. Coach Salerno likes it, as does the crowd. Back to a 16-point advantage. Brooks bounces it inside to Ahmed. Ahmed dishes nicely along the baseline. Mondi, and some good follow there, and a good sequence by the Highlanders as they again put a couple of points on the board. 14-point lead once again.
And Ahmed's really given some trouble inside of this Magic front line with his movement, just his ferociousness. He's not giving up, not giving an inch, working really hard down there.
Daquan Brooks, a very intense defender, and the turnover brings it to Mondi. Mondi charges into the lane, switches hands, and goes to the right hand to finish, and that's a great look right there from number 11, Duke Mondi.
And that double-digit threshold is within one possession here for the Highlanders.
Here's Anthony Anderson now, puts it on the floor, bounces it inside to Cox, and again, challenging defense underneath. Ahmed was there and then overcame Mondi to challenge as well. So right now, a good job by the Highlanders. They are contesting everything that the Magic are putting up.
Yeah, they're pushing back at the Magic here, and the Magic have relented, and it's given some confidence here to Cape Breton. They can play with this squad in here.
Cox looks for the open man, puts it into the hands of Stewart. There's that tenacious defender, Daquan Brooks, out on him, but then Anderson goes into a tree in the name of Ahmed, but no problem for Anderson. He's seen that before, and he gets the bucket.
Both he and Coach Salerno were puzzled as to why it's not an and one situation. But as always, Anthony can take that contact and finish through it.
Here's Mondi now, dumps it off to Ahmed, and Ahmed goes in strong, and Cox will take the foul. Strong move to the bucket by number 32, Ali Ahmed.
And Cox chewing on his jersey, a little frustrated with the call, but listen, you give up that ball penetration to the middle, and it's going to create all kinds of problems. And if I was Anthony Cox, I'd be more concerned with how the ball is getting there over and over again rather than the referee call.
Well, with the crowd raining boos down on Ahmed, he calmly hits the first. And Ahmed has had a strong start to this second half for the Highlanders. There's no question about it. Yeah. And 2 for 2 from the line. So all of a sudden, the Highlanders chipping away, 12-point lead. Yeah. Daquan Brooks again coming out on defense, and Al Stewart slashing, dashing, and goes underneath the basket, puts it up, gets it to go.
Just pure speed. He's got a gear there that not a lot of guys in this league have, and he gets ahead of steam under him, and he's deadly, just hard to stop. And there it is again, a three.
Mondi hits that from well outside the arc again, and Mondi now trying to get his mates going here.
And sometimes it's just all about a little bit of confidence. And when you're the underdog, and that's what they've got here.
Terry Thomas being watched by Mann. Goes out to the top now for Williams. Williams, Ari Stewart watching him. Williams goes to the left, tried to work around. Good defense, gets it back. Dishes underneath along the baseline. Stewart fed Cox, but they ran out of time. And all of a sudden, the Highlanders starting to feel some confidence here.
And look, you could feel the Magic players kind of tightening up a little bit, forcing things a little bit. That was one extra pass. You get things rolling and you got confidence going. Al Stewart's going to finish that layup off the window himself.
Well, it's been a long time since the Highlanders have been less than double digits away from the lead. And that's what could happen right now. Down by 11. Mondi dishes inside to Ahmed, goes to the right hand. And Ahmed, nice move underneath as his strong play continues here. And now all of a sudden, 9 points the lead. Stewart outside to Thomas. Magic will settle into a half-court offense now, 11 on the shot clock. Thomas steps away, gets it to Williams from outside. Williams, can he hit? No. Off the back part of the iron, and away come the Highlanders with Stewart. What a turn of events we've had here in this second half. The Highlanders clawing back into this one, and we've got a ball game. Stewart from downtown, and he hits it, and Coach Salerno wants a timeout. He does not like what he is seeing on the floor right now. And at the other end, if you're Coach Spahn, you're going, hey, guys, we're a young, dangerous group now.
Look what we found. We found a game here. Yeah, and the Magic are talking amongst themselves coming off the floor, but I mean that's just a terrible defensive rotation there. Pretty basic. Run a screen roll and find an open man opposite. That's pretty basic basketball. You got to be able to defend that. And this is more. I think this is more about just some guys digging in and and using their talents and communicating here. This is really the basics on the defensive end. And at the offensive end, Cape Breton is just putting a yeoman's work in, just valiant defensive effort, forcing the Magic to shoot the shot they want them to shoot. And whereas early in the game, we talked about it last night, the Magic were forcing the Highlanders to do what they want to do, and it's just the switch has been completely switched here.
Well, the Cape Breton Highlanders outscoring the Moncton Magic 16-8 in this third quarter, and they've cut it to a 6-point lead. And you know, full credit to the Cape Breton Highlanders. In the game we did yesterday with the Island Storm, once the Magic got up by double digits and extended it to a fairly large lead, they held that lead for the majority of the game the rest of the way. And again, you got to tip your cap to Coach Spahn and these young Highlanders. They've kind of chipped away, and they've rode a little bit of the momentum from Hakeem Johnson and certainly Duke Mondi. And again, right now, 6 points the difference.
Yeah, Duke Mondi's been the catalyst in this third quarter with his playmaking. And yeah, Hakeem Johnson and Stewart with that outside shooting have just kept them afloat. And you hang around, and you put a concerted effort in on the defensive end and on the boards. And this is what you can find yourself in, and that's what we've got. We've got ourselves a ball game where it wasn't won halfway through the first quarter.
So, a little bit of gut check time here for this veteran-laden Magic team. We'll see what they have here for the answer coming out of that Joe Salerno timeout. Thomas takes it strong into the paint, dumps it off to Cox. Cox takes it strong, and with authority, Anthony Cox trying to change the momentum with one single jam.
Anthony Cox with a hammer, lighting a fire into this crowd a little bit. Let's see if that lights a fire into the defense on the Magic end.
Daquan Brooks takes it strong, and he's been a leader on the defensive end for the Highlanders, has number 3 in blue. Daquan Brooks, the young man from Atlanta, Georgia.
Got that Isaiah Thomas look to him. Lefty,
and you know,
headband, the whole 9 yards.
If you want to know how hard Daquan Brooks works coming into this game, he was tied for the lead in rebounds per game at 5.5. Nice fake there by Mondi. That shot well off the mark, though.
That's exactly the 2 possessions that Coach Salerno wanted coming to that timeout.
Here's Al Stewart, strong to the bucket, right hand, no problem. And now it's the Magic who go on a bit of a run here.
There's that 6th gear that Al has. He's a blur when he gets there.
Back to double digits again. Putting it on the floor is Stewart, takes it in strong. Awkward looking rebound, went off the fingertips, and it comes down to Thomas. He bounces it ahead to Anderson. Anderson stutter steps through the lane, charges in, gets it to go, and now the Magic answering right back.
Yeah, there it is, that run that you like to see out of a timeout. The smile back on the face of Anthony Anderson. When he gets that giddy-up step going and gets gathered with 2 hands and 2 feet, it's impossible. You know that's going to be 2 points.
Well, how quickly did that pendulum swing back the other way?
Yeah, I'm getting whiplash here a little bit.
The Highlanders came out, were outscoring the Magic in this quarter 16-8, had cut the lead to 6 points. Coach Joe Salerno was not happy, called the timeout, gathered the troops together, read them the riot act. They came out with a couple of nice offensive possessions. You had that big jam with authority from Cox that got the crowd to its feet, as well as the Moncton Magic bench. And a couple of more points, and all of a sudden it's Coach Rob Spahn who is seeing it slip away and calls a timeout on the other side.
I think he's most happy with the defensive possessions we've seen in between timeouts here. And that's where the Magic have got to get consistency if they're going to be, I mean, you can maybe sleepwalk through a quarter or a half of a game in November and December. But if you get in the habit of doing that, all of a sudden it gets to playoff time and you've created a habit of that, that's going to be tough to break when you're in a 5-game series in the playoffs.
Give you an update on some other scores from around the league. Just underway in London, Ontario, the Halifax Hurricanes on their Ontario road trip. Again, just early stage as they trail the London Lightning 3-2. And the only other game, it's an all-Ontario affair, is the Niagara River Lions taking on the Windsor Express in Niagara. And right now it's a 5-point lead late in the first quarter. Niagara leading Windsor 27-22. And of course our ball game here, the Highlanders made a bit of a run to start this second half, but Moncton Magic have tried to reestablish themselves here. So with 6:08 to go in the third quarter, it's a 66-54 Magic lead. I'm Scott Squires along with my broadcast partner David Tingley. We are glad to have you with us here for this NBL Canada Live broadcast from the Moncton Coliseum on a Sunday afternoon.
And if you're a Magic fan watching these games and only these games, I'd strongly encourage you to check out those feeds from those other teams. And we're going to see another shot clock violation here with two of those in 3 possessions almost for the Cape Breton Highlanders.
So not good out of the timeout. Thomas now from outside, hits it for 3, and Thomas knows it, and he looks back to his own bench saying, here we go, boys, this is what we need.
And the momentum change has just been astonishing here since that Joe Salerno timeout, and just got some confidence back for the Magic here at the offensive end.
And a nice look there from Ari Stewart. Anderson now changes pace, decides to take it strong himself, kicks it right back outside. Stewart works it to Thomas, now to Williams. Williams being guarded there by Stewart on the wing, and Jeremy Williams calmly hits the jumper right in Stewart's face.
So comfortable with that 1-pound right-hand dribble, rise and fire. Jeremy's got that move, and he loves it, and it's his favorite one.
Brooks gets it in there, and trying a little cheeky behind the back pass was Johnson, didn't work, but Ahmed gets it now. Nice ball movement here. Johnson puts it on the floor, puts one dribble down, takes the long range shot, and again, just a little bit short out of the hands of Johnson.
And Coach Salerno, again, he's asking about, was it the shot clock being reset? I think it was.
So Coach Salerno not happy with that. Referee Paul Hansen, I think, saying to put 2 seconds back on the shot clock.
Listen, you can see the difference in the last couple minutes in the Magic defense. Flying to the ball, solid closeouts, not giving up that easy 3-point shot.
And Ahmed gets his own rebound, tries to put it up against Cox, and Cox is going to be called for the foul underneath the basket.
And again, I think he should be more concerned with how the Highlanders got such an easy layup attempt after 2 seconds with 2 seconds on the shot clock.
So I said Cox, it's actually Al Stewart who gets tagged with the foul.
And the Magic are a little upset. They don't feel like the Highlanders should have had that opportunity to begin with. But you can't cry over spilled milk in a situation like that with 2 seconds on the clock. Stay focused. You'll force up a difficult shot, but the Highlanders got an easy one instead. And you talked about that out-of-town scoreboard a little bit, and NBL fans out there, if you're tuning in to us here, like I say, the other broadcasts and the other broadcasting teams, they do a stellar job as well, and it's an entertaining brand. It's not just the Magic to put on a good show. Check out those other broadcasts, those other teams, and enjoy basketball, good basketball from all parts of this country.
So Ahmed hits the second, 14-point advantage here for the Magic. 4:17 left to go, third quarter. Thomas again outside for 3, rolls around and down into the hands of Hakeem Johnson. He bounces it over to a hop, skip, and a jump from Brooks. And Brooks tried to get it to the corner, and great defense by Thomas as he just picked that ball off. Thomas dishes inside to Williams. Williams gets the friendly roll off the front of the rim, kind of brushes off the front of the jersey and says, there you go.
Lost it going up and was smiling to himself, but he got it to go. A little bit lucky, but when you're good, you're lucky.
Jeremy Williams, one of the rebounding leaders on this team for the first 3 games, averaging 8.7 boards, and he's been kicking in some offense as well.
Yeah, his strongest game of the year so far tonight.
Anderson now being watched by the veteran Hakeem Johnson. Cox comes out to run a bit of a screen. Ahmed now will switch and go out. Anderson steps back, couldn't get the range. And picking it up on the rebound is Harrison, and Daquan Brooks will bring it back up the floor. 3:18 left to play. Third quarter action all the way over to the other side for Stewart. Stewart puts it on the floor, takes a couple of steps in, calm jumper goes. Saying he was hit on the arm, but he gets the 2-point bucket.
Real smooth game for him, and he's got that mid-range game to go with the long-range rise and fire. Good mixture for Stewart.
60% shooter from the floor is Ari Stewart in the season. Williams from downtown, nothing but net there, and Williams again just kind of turns and heads back up the floor. A good-looking game here for 21 in gray.
Total miscommunication for Cape Breton there.
Here come the Magic once again down the floor.
And we're going to get an intentional. And again, you talked about it yesterday, from our vantage point that the Magic franchise has given us here, we hear all the little conversations that we didn't hear in preceding years, and he said to his team that he's subbing in kind of some wholesale substitutions here. Let's keep up the defensive energy that these guys have brought the last 4 or 5 minutes.
So we'll check the personnel on the floor now for the Moncton Magic. Al Stewart remains out there along with Terry Thomas, and you mentioned the wholesale changes. We've got Denzel Taylor, Corey Allman, as well as Terrell Baines checking into the contest.
And just for you fans out there, when it comes to, we talked, and we had a little incident here last night where we had some technicals and some intentionals, and when you watch NBA basketball, you're used to hearing the term flagrant foul. Well, in this league, they don't have flagrant fouls. It's unsportsmanlike, not intentional, just unsportsmanlike. It's kind of a catch-all for all these types of fouls.
So Thomas shoots those, and now it'll be possession to the Magic. Corey Allman will get it into Stewart.
And blink if you miss it, that leads back to 19.
Well, certainly coming out of that timeout after Cape Breton had made the run, it's been a different Magic team as Terrell Baines, and everything seeming to fall right now for Moncton.
Showing a lot of confidence. He's been that dependable presence that Coach Salerno talks about so much these last 2 games after having trouble finishing around the rim the first 2 outings of the season.
Hakeem Johnson being watched there by Denzel Taylor. Takes it baseline, goes to the right hand off a glass.
And it's so frustrating. It's got to be so frustrating as a defender in a league like this where you got so much length and athleticism coming at you. You play great defense for 15 seconds the way Denzel Taylor did out there challenging a good player like Hakeem Johnson. And he still has just that enough talent to sometimes better out, just overcomes really good D.
That's a second foul on Taylor, 15 foul for the Magic here. This Magic team through for the first 3 games averaging just under 106 points a game, shooting right around 42.5% from the floor, and free throw wise, they shoot just under 77%. And for the Cape Breton Highlanders, 74.5% from the charity stripe. So it's an 80-60 game, 20-point lead here, under 2 minutes to play in the third quarter. Stewart dishes now to Baines. They'll work it around the perimeter. Thomas will decide to take it in. Good defense there, but quickly taken away, and Baines had the open look, couldn't get the shot to go, but looks like he'll go to the line.
And Al's calling over Baines, and he's talking to him a little bit about that play that they run, which is a double high screen, and the point guard chooses which side he wants to go to, and if the big guys are flashing hard, they're going to get some open looks. And I think Al was saying to Terrell Baines, hey man, open up, I'll find you.
Baines misses the first, and that's the third foul on Charles Mann.
That's what you love about a point guard like Al Stewart. If he's talking to you, it's not because he wants his own stuff. He wants to make sure you're getting your stuff.
And 0 for 2 on that trip. Highlanders now will bring it up the floor. Mann works toward the middle, double team there, kicks it over to Johnson, bounce pass down to the side. Long range corner 3 out of the hands of Harrison. And grabbing the board underneath are the Magic, and Marquise Clayton back into the game now for Moncton. He'll move it up down to Ashanti Day. Ashanti Day seeing his first action on the afternoon.
Showed some stuff last night and some impressive minutes, athleticism and rebounding.
Marquise Clayton from his hometown of Halifax, Dartmouth, couldn't get it to go. That was well outside the arc.
Yeah, a little early maybe. Wow, Coach Sloan was a little frustrated with that call, and Denzel Taylor again playing super solid defense and so not getting rewarded.
Third foul on Denzel Taylor, the young man out of Brampton, Ontario, attended Old Dominion University. And it'll be Charles Mann to the line. Mann coming into this game, third leading scorer on the Highlanders, averaging 16 a game. Mann has had a pretty solid game for the Highlanders here this afternoon.
Terrell Baines with a tough one-handed rebound, and then kind of nonchalant with that pass out of bounds, and he had his point guard to the left of him and decided to throw a lazy underhanded pass to the other side.
So turned over now. Harrison Double team comes out on him. He kicks it to Johnson. Johnson puts it on the floor, spins against Allman, steps back, gets it to go, and that's a nice set there and a good-looking play from Hakeem Johnson.
So hard to get your shoulders squared away on that turnaround jumper, and he just did a beautiful job, got his feet set and nailed it.
Allman gets it to Ashanti Day. He's being watched by Reynolds. Now they'll work it to Taylor, back to Allman. Allman slashes to his left, goes to the left hand. No luck there on that shot, and bringing it back out now is Harrison. Hakeem Johnson, quick look to the corner. Working on his man is Harrison. Back outside for Mann for three. Nice little putback touch there from Jamal Reynolds as he came in off the three-point miss and taps it in for the deuce.
That's not like Denzel Taylor. He's usually cleaning up the mess at one end. Totally whiffed on the box out there.
Only a couple of seconds. Clayton's got to put it up off the front of the iron, and rebound chance there, but the quarter expires. And overall, not a bad quarter for the Cape Breton Highlanders. Yes, they trailed by 16, but I think there were certainly moments in the first 5 minutes of that third quarter in particular that Coach Rob Spahn would be pretty pleased about.
Yeah, I mean, they were really just let down by that little 3-minute spurt in between timeouts there that we talked about, where the Miracles got some gas back in the tank out of nowhere after a long spell of just kind of idling. And that push with a team this talented, that push is sometimes enough, and that really carried them this quarter.
Well, at one point, the Cape Breton Highlanders had cut the lead to 6, and then Coach Joe Salerno, being the veteran coach that he is, didn't like what was happening, called the timeout, and the Moncton Magic came out on fire out of that coach's timeout, and they went on a bit of a run. So after being outscored at one point, 18-6 by the Highlanders in that third quarter, the Magic turned it around, and that third quarter ended up being a close one. Magic outscoring Cape Breton 28-26 overall, and through three complete, 80-64.
And fans, just straighten something out a little bit, because I think if you're following us on the stream here and on the website, you might be a little bit confused by when we talk about the leading scorers. Hakeem Johnson is number 10 on the floor, and number 10 on the score sheet online is Lindsey Hunter. So Hakeem Johnson's been doing some damage, and we've been mentioning the leading scorers. We've been referencing Lindsey Hunter, so I think we'll have to get some clarification on. So there's a little bit of mix-up with uniform numbers here a little bit. So if you guys have been thrown off a little bit there during our broadcast, that might be why. We'll get maybe some clarification here in a second.
Yeah, from the opening lineup sheet that we were given for the Cape Breton Highlanders, 3 players actually came to the floor wearing different numbers. On the pregame sheet, Ali Ahmed was listed as 30, Seamus Ferguson was listed as 32, and Hakeem Johnson was 90. But actually, uniform number-wise, Seamus Ferguson wearing lucky 13, Ali Ahmed is 32, and Hakeem Johnson is number 10. Now that's uniforms on the floor.
Yep, and he's not, and Hakeem is not listed amongst any of the scorers on the website. So
yes, that's correct. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So reading it off of the stats. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
So number 10 should read Hakeem Johnson.
So I hope that's straightened it out, fans out there. Again, you can hit us up. We haven't mentioned it much there today. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Hoops Tingley, and I know you're at Josco, Johsco. So participate in the conversation there. We haven't done much today, but join us and say hi for this last quarter, people.
Yeah, I'm sure Lindsey Hunter sitting on the bench going, man, I'm having a great day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so with some personnel changes, that can happen. But again, on the stats update online, some of the names not corresponding with the numbers, so we'll do our best to make that auto correction for you, so to speak. 11:45 here, just underway in the fourth quarter. Anthony Anderson now being worked on there by Harrison. Coming out to help there was Ferguson. Good job by Anderson to get it off to Marquise Clayton. He goes to Baines. 3 seconds on the shot clock. Baines puts it up, and well wide of the mark as the shot clock expires, and they'll turn it over on the violation.
And a little dose of their own medicine back at the Magic, having a shot clock violation here to see if the Magic can dig in defensively and return the favor.
So Mann gets it to Johnson. Johnson gives it up to Reynolds. 11 seconds on the shot. They work it around the perimeter. Mann will put it on the floor now, goes in against a crowd, and a nice little running shot from about 5 feet drops. for Charles Mann, who again has had a strong game here for the Highlanders.
To be an effective perimeter scorer, you got to have that outside shot, but you got to have that in-between game, including that teardrop, and Mann's got it.
Almond, he can hit from there. No good on that attempt, though, and the Highlanders will grab the board.
And Corey's been quiet after a strong game last night. We'll see if he can contribute a little bit here in the fourth quarter.
And Hakeem Johnson a couple of times went behind the back with the dribble to make the ball up the floor and hits that calm jumper. And again, a nice game this afternoon for Hakeem Johnson.
Does such a good job creating space with that reverse dribble when he needs it.
16 points on the afternoon now for Johnson. And a couple of players come together as Ferguson goes to the deck for the Highlanders. We're going to have some more changes now as Coach Salerno will make a trifecta of changes once again. Stewart, Thomas, and Williams back on the floor for the Moncton Magic.
And when you look up again, we're within one possession of this being that mental barrier there, that single-digit lead that you get it into, and it seems to just work wonders for you if you're trying to create a comeback.
So Ferguson will head to the bench. Back into the game for the Highlanders, Shane Osiande, young man from Toronto who attended the University of Saskatchewan. So we've got a St. Mary's Husky on the Magic and a Saskatchewan Husky on the Highlanders. And in between it all was Anthony Anderson trying to work through a crowd, but it's turned over now, and Hakeem Johnson again. Long outlet pass into the corner. Taking it strong baseline there was Harrison, and he'll get that shot to go. So a great look by Johnson finding Harrison in the corner, and Harrison took it strong baseline.
Such an athletic move. It's so hard to drive the baseline that hard and avoid that big defender waiting for you to draw the charge, and you just elevate around him and finish off the rim with a soft touch.
Thomas going in against Johnson. Bounce pass there to Williams. Williams has Reynolds right in front of him, and Williams lowers the shoulder into Reynolds, and Reynolds had position, and he takes the charge.
And Coach Salerno is not in agreement about the dropping of the shoulder with Jeremy Williams, and that was look. Sometimes you make that flop play, and you're gonna earn the call from the ref, and he was certainly in good position to take that contact.
So a chance once again for the Highlanders to cut it inside double digits. And there's an attempt from well outside, and DeMarcus Harrison hits the tray, and Coach Salerno, an emphatic call for a timeout towards the timekeeper's bench, as once again he has seen the Highlanders take advantage of some miscommunication, misplays on the Magic side, and some aggressive defense, particularly by this Highlander team. And all of a sudden, with 9:29 to go, back to a 7-point lead.
We're going to get whiplash with the lead with the runs here, but this is the type of league that you've mentioned before, the type of league that we have, and there's just there's too much talent to not expect some runs back and forth here. But I think the story's been on the Magic side again, a little bit of allowing the Highlanders to dictate where they're running their offense instead of them using their talent, like impose their will physically and talent-wise to create the shots they want. And the Highlanders did a great job of pushing them to the spots that they want them to play from.
And you know what? With 9:29 to go, obviously the outcome's still in doubt, but regardless of the outcome, I think for Coach Rob Spahn and what he admittedly says is a very youthful Cape Breton Highlanders team, I think some very nice things that he's going to be able to break down on film after this. Lots of things still to work on, but again, regardless of the outcome, I think there's going to be some positives that his team is going to be able to take away. And he also said, you know what? He said in a couple of games, he said, you know, we lost to the St. John's Edge 106-98. He said, but we were right there. Then they turned around and they lost to a very good St. John Riptide team 108-94. But he said the same thing. He said, you know, we had moments where we were kind of right within striking distance. And I think he would probably say much the same thing so far about what's happened here.
When you got a young squad, you're trying to build something. And what you start with is let's do what we do well, and let's get a mindset where we're going to be difficult to play against. Even if we're down, we're going to be difficult to play against. And they're making things very difficult for the Magic here in the half court.
And Thomas aggressive into the paint, and not the first time we've seen a time where Thomas charges hard into the lane and then ends up down on the deck, but he's going to go to the line.
He's such a difficult customer with that rip through going both ways. He really wants to go right-handed, and it's tough to, even though you know he wants to go there, it's tough to keep him from going in that direction, but he's got such a strong, quick, rip-the-ball-through move that even professional basketball players have difficulty staying in front of him. And he misses the front end of the 2 shots here.
Terry Thomas, 11 points on the afternoon, looking to add to that total here. And he does, so he hits the back end of the two shots. 12 points on the afternoon now for the St. Francis Xavier X-Men alumni. Highlanders, good defense, and Williams comes up with that loose ball. Good defensive set there by the Magic. They bring the ball back up the floor. 81-73, 8-point lead. Terry Thomas for 3. Good from downtown. Terry Thomas.
Anthony Anderson attracting 3 guys in the middle of the key. Gonna have somebody open, and it was Terry, and he knocked it down.
Here's Mann slashing in through the lane against a couple of defenders, and Charles Mann trying to get his Highlanders teammates to follow his lead. And certainly there's been times where Mann as well as Hakeem Johnson have tried to set the tone and get their mates to follow along.
And they've really done a great job opening up opportunities for themselves and their teammates, but there's Johnson again.
Another offensive rebound underneath, and a fight for it there between Cox and Johnson, but good aggression by the Highlanders. A couple of offensive rebounds back-to-back, and now we're going to have a jump ball. Yeah. So the possession arrow with the Moncton Magic. And
the Magic a little bit getting caught looking. And that's a tough habit to break sometimes. You get watching that ball bouncing off the rim instead of looking at what's around you, getting a body on somebody and making some contact and pushing them out of there.
So Mann will inbound. Cutting in toward the basket was Reynolds, but they go baseline instead. Now Reynolds gets it underneath, and Cox right there defensively. And Coach Salerno has shed the jacket now. He's down to just the shirt sleeves as he's really getting into the intensity of this game and imploring his team to pick it up on the defensive end.
And it's a little bit, and again, a couple of, when a defense has to work as a unit, a 5-person unit. And if there's one weak link in that, it can cause all sorts of problems. And right now, you got guys really digging in defensively, but other guys getting caught flat-footed. And Terry Thomas did an excellent job creating a potential turnover there, making Reynolds get up in the air to pass the ball, but didn't have the teammates with their heads on a swivel ready to step in and pick that ball off.
So Cox picks up his 4th foul. Jamal Reynolds hits both, and it's an 84-75 lead. Williams, double team there. Look at Reynolds come over and battle with Williams. Both players go to the deck, and Reynolds does not like the call as he gets up, and he is imploring with the referee saying, I was there.
And he's got something to complain about there. He did a great job stepping in, creating an opportunity for a turnover, and I think he got grabbed there by Jeremy Williams, so I think he's got something valid to complain about there.
Well, a great effort from both players. Williams for the Magic, Reynolds for the Highlanders, but the call goes to the Magic. And Al Stewart now with 9 seconds on the shot clock will control. Gives it to Williams. Williams against Mann, gets it inside to Cox. Cox makes a move up against the defender, and he'll go to the line for the and one. And now Cox, he may have 4 fouls, but he's flexing there after that strong move to the hoop.
And Anthony Cox has really shown a lot of good touch tonight with both the right and the left, showing he can go both directions, and he finished great through contact there. And I looked down after midway through the first quarter when the Magic had established a quick lead, and I looked at the rebounding numbers, and they'd gotten off to a quick start. And I think a big part of the story is here, we talked about 77-27 last night. Amongst that 77 rebounds, 33 offensive rebounds for the Magic. And you look at these numbers now, and it's 32-30 in total rebounds and 9-5 against the Magic on offensive rebounds. The Cape Breton's come in here and created more second chance opportunities than have the Magic.
Mann, long cross-court pass into the corner, and Harrison underneath defensive pressure. He travels with it, so they'll turn the ball over to the Magic. And again, the Magic, what an ebb and flow of this game where they've kind of been up and riding the wave of offense, defense, and they have that lull. Coach Salerno calls the timeout. They kind of pick up the pace again. So we've been riding the wave here with the Magic all afternoon. 7:33 to go. Magic with the 11-point lead, 86-75. Anderson going up against Harrison. Gives it off there to Cox. Cox will work on Stewart. Gets it over for Thomas. Shot clock expires, and man was right in the face of Thomas, and not much Thomas could do there as he just had to put up the desperation shot.
And Anthony's pointing up to Terry Thomas going, that's on me. I got to know where the shot clock is and get it up on the board myself.
.7:12 left in the quarter. And they're going to call Williams for a foul on Hakeem Johnson.
And Coach Salerno is imploring Jeremy Williams to get up and deny Hakeem Johnson the ball. He's been such a destroyer of worlds there today off the dribble. He doesn't want to get the ball in his hands at all.
So 14 seconds on the shot clock. Johnson tried to inbounds it. I think
The rare behind the back inbounds pass.
Yeah, I was going to say, he tried the little Harlem Globetrotter play there. Comes over and shaking hands with a couple of fans along the sidelines there. That's some good sportsmanship. Now the fan's going to play some D. So a fun moment there between the players and the fans are certainly right in amongst it here at the Coliseum with the way the seats are set up. And Anderson comes down and Mondi reaches in, and he'll draw the foul on an on-rushing Anthony Anderson.
Yeah, good play there actually by Mondi to get it to reach in and take one there. Anthony had him beat clean.
So Thomas will inbound with 17 seconds on the shot clock, 7 in the game, or in the quarter. Stewart tried to get it to Anderson, but good anticipation by Hakeem Johnson, and he picked it off.
Yeah, that pass didn't have a chance.
And Johnson, nice feed inside to Shane Osiandi, and Osiandi gets the bucket, and again, they've closed it to inside double digits.
A complete game tonight for Hakeem Johnson, showing all of his talents. An impressive showing here.
It certainly has been. Seeing his first game for the Highlanders and making a great impression for the team, as well as Coach Spahn.
Another thing here, an underrated part of defense sometimes in this league among the FIBA rules is when to take these fouls. And this can be a weapon that you use to keep talented offensive teams out of rhythm. You know, if you get beat clean, you know, take one. If you only have 1 or 2 in the game, you know, who's it going to hurt?
Anderson dished it to Williams, and Williams with the open look for 3. No problem there for Jeremy Williams.
Yeah, and Jay Will's just looking so confident today.
And answering right back the other way is Ari Stewart. He came into the game as the leading scorer for the Highlanders, and he had a nice touch there.
Yeah, a little short corner jumper, and Coach Salerno was wondering what went wrong with the defense there. Anthony Cox was late on the challenge for a 10-footer.
Thomas from well outside the arc, and it's well short. So,
little problem with the scoreboard here. Our Sam went out for a second, and they're going to have to stop play to correct it. We're back in business, and here we go.
Just a little technical glitch, no problem. 5:54 left in the fourth quarter. 89-79, 10-point lead for the Magic, but the Highlanders have been pesky here in this second half. Hakeem Johnson, now the leading scorer on the afternoon for the Highlanders. Bounce pass over there to Osiandi. Osiandi challenges, gets his own rebound, and puts it up. And I think he's going to go to the line after drawing the foul, so good sequence there, both from Johnson and Osiandi underneath the bucket for the Highlanders.
Yeah, Hakeem Johnson's got such a good handle, and when he breaks through, splits that defense, he does such a good job at doing that football tuck under the arm move to split the defense. They create so much opportunity offensively.
So Shane Osiandi will go to the line now. He's got a couple of points on the day. He's only had 1 trip to the line. He missed both. So we'll see what he has here for the Highlanders from the charity stripe. Gets the first. Osiandi will look to go 2 for 2 from the line here and make it an 8-point lead. Gets the friendly roll, 2 for 2 for Osiandi on that trip. Terry Thomas will bring it up the floor now with some pace, charging into the lane. Osiandi was back on defense and took the hit from the on-rushing Terry Thomas.
And Cape Breton's thrown Moncton off just a little bit by bringing up that pressure, up 94 feet. And Moncton's been uncomfortable about skipping that pass and then what decisions to make once they've broken through that kind of token pressure a little bit. But Terry Thomas knew what to do with it.
Terry Thomas Now 4 of 5 from the line, 16 points on the afternoon. Looking to go 5 of 6, and he does. So that's point number 16 on the afternoon. Another solid performance for Terry Thomas. Daquan Brooks now gives it off to Hakeem Johnson. 10-point advantage for the Magic. Inside lob pass for Stewart. Kicks it back, or he tried to anyway. Dish it to a cutting Asiandi, but again, that defensive genius, Al Stewart, breaks it up. Corner 3 from Williams, and it's good! All the way from Rishabukto!
And the offensive genius is being provided by Jeremy Williams tonight. Couple threes here. Midway point of the fourth quarter has pushed that lead back out. We're on a seesaw here, Scott, and it's back to 13 for the Magic. 5:10 remaining as we go to a timeout.
Well, this Moncton Magic team, we're looking to build on the momentum of their big victory yesterday over the Island Storm. And the Cape Breton Highlanders still looking for their first victory of the season. And the Highlanders have, certainly in the second half especially, have given the Magic everything they can handle.
Yeah, they've given them some fits, but every time they've gotten back to within 7, 10, 9, 11, there's been a push, and Magic have lit a fire into themselves and been able to push it back. And it's a great thing to be able to have that gear to go to. You just don't want to depend on it in case it's not there when you step on the gas.
Well, you talk about the offensive genius. Jeremy Williams, the leading scorer in the game. 26 points on the day, 11 of 15 from the floor, 4 of 7 from outside the arc, and 6 rebounds to boot. So a fantastic afternoon for Jeremy Williams. Anthony Anderson with 18 points for the Magic. Terry Thomas with 17. On the other side, Ari Stewart, the leading scorer for the Highlanders on the season, with 16 on the day. And of course, a great opening performance, first game for Hakeem Johnson. He's got 16 points as well, 6 of 13 from the floor, 10 rebounds for Hakeem Johnson, and he's had a very solid performance as well for the Highlanders.
And judging by the Twitter feeds of the out-of-town teams playing right now, London and Windsor, there's going to be some highlights that we're going to be able to watch of those games. Apparently people are dunking on people all over the province of Ontario this afternoon.
We'll look forward to that, and again, you can catch a lot of the post-game highlights and video reels either on the NBL Canada website, also the NBL Canada site, a portal to all of the individual team websites, and as well, the full game's also uploaded to YouTube, usually a short time after the completion of the game. So lots of ways you can catch up with the action, not only live, but post-game as well.
When our game's done, don't be shy about turning the channel over to one of those games and catch what will probably be the second half of those outings. And Hakeem Johnson just gave us another array of moves there, but Jeremy was able to challenge it with his length and force a miss.
Shot clock winding down, 6 seconds on it now. Anderson trying to find an open. He decides to just take the 3. Rebound chance is there as Baines reached up for it, and a good job by Thomas to grab it. Fresh 24 for the Magic. 94-81, Magic lead. Ball swung cross court now as Stewart gets it to Anderson. What a treat it is to watch these two men in the backcourt. Anthony Anderson puts it on the floor against Asiandi, and Hakeem Johnson comes over and tried to snag that ball right out of the hands of the on-rushing AA Anthony Anderson.
And Terry Thomas was giving him the gears. Hey, I was wide open. Anthony's saying, man, I was trying to get it to you. Don't worry about it.
And while we have a moment, I want to say a very happy 83rd birthday to the father of one of the coaches on this Moncton Magic team, Graham McKillop. 83 years young today. He lives here in Moncton. He's celebrating his birthday. And apparently Coach McKillop from the Magic was saying they're going to be going and having a post-game barbecue to celebrate Dad's birthday later on. So happy birthday, Graham.
Did he give you the address for that?
Still working on it.
Okay. Get back to me.
I'm pretty sure 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue isn't where they live, but that's the initial address he gave you. But I confirmed that might have been I think he just wrote it down wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that second is good from the line. As the Magic now approaching the century mark in points, they sit at 95.
And yeah, Al's a little bit frustrated there. It seemed like Daquan Cook might have tripped over his own screen setter there in the same uniform, but
great to see the fans out here supporting the team on this Sunday afternoon in the beautiful hub city of Moncton. 4:05 left to play in this fourth quarter. Hakeem Johnson being watched by Stewart, gets it off there for Ari Stewart. Ari, kind of a double team there, but turns it over as Thomas flew in to steal that away. Look at Terry Thomas go. Gives it to Anderson, and no problem for Anthony Anderson. The all-time leading scorer in the NBL adds 2 more to the total, but that was all started by Terry Thomas.
Terry shows you everything that he can bring, and back comes. And who was that on the 3? It was Duke Mondi on the 3.
So a nice answer back there from number 11 in blue, Duke Mondi. Under 3.5 left in the quarter. Anthony Anderson now, Mondi out on him defensively. Anderson goes to the left hand, takes it strong back to the right hand, and he waits for it to go, and as it does, he puts the smile, he slaps hands with Thomas, and he'll go to the line for the and one.
That's just beautiful stuff. You got to put that into the memory banks. That's what Anthony does so often. He has that beautiful lefty in between dribble, where he's got that varied length off the floor. He can dribble it real short or bring it way. He controls.
answer and were able to push back themselves.
I think you'd like to see a veteran squad maybe more self-correct than have to do so out of a timeout and get a fire lit under them. But again, that's part of coaching. It's not just X's and O's. He's got to instill a mentality of, look, guys, I know your talent's going to carry you through a lot of games, okay? And that might happen early. But you talk about the St. John Edge team and the Highlander squad. We talked a lot about grit and determination. And in the case of the St. John Edge game, it carried them over the top against probably a more talented Moncton Magic squad. And today, talent won out, but you can't rely on that. And that goes. That's going to be something he's going to be pushing for. You can't rely on me to call a timeout, give you a push to get those runs going.
So the Cape Breton Highlanders, a game effort. They had moments where they gave the Moncton Magic all kinds of fits, but the Magic hang on. So the Highlanders fall to 0-3. And after an 0-2 start, the Moncton Magic have bounced back here and did what they had to do. They got to handle their business at home. There's no question about it. And they did just that. Last night, the 115-83 victory over the Island Storm, and this afternoon, a 112-94 victory over the Cape Breton Highlanders. And I guess a nice positive thing, certainly on the defensive side, is that's 2 games in a row now where the Moncton Magic have held their opponent to under 100. And if you can do that in the NBL, that's saying something.
Yeah, it's really good. You're gonna win a lot more games than you lose holding squads under 100 points, and I think the stats will bear that out. But yeah, defense is going to be where they hang their hat, because if they do a job defensively, more often than not, the pure offensive talent on the Moncton end, even on a bad shooting night, it's going to carry over 100 points.
Well, it was an entertaining afternoon here in Moncton. We certainly hope you enjoyed it wherever you were tuned in. It was a pleasure to bring the game to you. Our next game right here from the Moncton Coliseum on NBL Canada Live TV. David and I will be with you on Thursday, the 30th of November. These very same Cape Breton Highlanders back in town for the rematch against the Moncton Magic. On behalf of my broadcast partner, David Tingley, I'm Scott Squires. Thank you so much for watching. It has been a pleasure to be with you the last couple of days here from the Moncton Coliseum. Once again, your final score, the Moncton Magic even up their record at 2-2 as they defeat the Cape Breton Highlanders by a score of 112-94. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great afternoon. Take care, and so long from the Moncton Coliseum.
but they're not taping, so you can, you know, say whatever you want.
All right.
What's the name of your 2-year-old?
Jakari.
Jakari?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. The only one? You got more?
No, I got 2 boys live out in Sacramento.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they're older, 16 and 15.
Oh, wow. My kids are going to try to distract us the whole time. And Magic fans, thanks for joining us here on Magic TV for the post game. And I'm joined by the one, the only Anthony Anderson. How you doing, Anthony?
Doing good, man.
Good game today out there today, leading scorer. And listen, everybody knows about your scoring. We talk about it ad nauseum. But I think what I've been impressed with the last couple of days and what I know you take pride in is the defensive end.
Yeah, definitely, man. I definitely take pride in my defense, and I've been saying for the last couple of years I'm trying to get on that all-defensive team, first team all-defense. So I work and I try hard at it, man. I think the fact that I do score so much, people just don't even take
it overshadows it.
Yeah, definitely.
It overshadows it. But I think a testament to that was you getting assigned a session last night, and off the topic of today's game, I was really impressed last night how you kept that guy, had kept him in front of him. And I know you and Al have a little back and forth rivalry about the steals lead all time in the NBL. You're going to be going back and forth at each other. Definitely. But listen, talk a little bit about the big guys, because I think they've been really the story the last couple of games for you guys.
Yeah, man. After the game Thursday, coach kind of got on them a little bit. He called them out, and they responded. They came in last night. We had 33 offensive rebounds. Like we out-rebounded them by like 50 or something like that. That is not even. It's unheard of, right? Yeah. So he got on the big guys, and they responded well, man. Every single one of them.
Yeah. Coach McKillop talked a little bit before the game about how you guys build the defense around the big guys with playing the screen and roll and making sure those guys are big and wide, and how much better they've been the last couple of games.
Yeah, definitely. In the pro game, a lot of offenses, pick and roll is a big part of the offense.
Especially this league, yeah.
And starting in training camp, we've been big on trying to drill on what to do, whether we're dropping on the guy, hedging on the guy, icing the guy. And it's been a little shaky, but we've got it together, and the last 2 nights it looked amazing.
Yeah, and Coach McKillop also told me a story yesterday about Kevin Farrell-Thomas when he was in the game last night. Took a 3, and you looked him in the eye and said, "Kevin, take 3 steps in and shoot your shot." And the coach just kind of looked at each other and said, "That's better coming from AA from any of us." So there's a lot of respect the guys that give to you for such a veteran of this league.
Yeah, definitely, man. When I talk to guys, listen, right? So Kev, he can make that shot, man. Just one or 2 dribbles inside the line, he can make it, no problem. Yeah. So I just try to tell him to get to his spot, right?
And the guys talk a lot about your unselfishness. As a guy calling the game, I haven't called a lot. I've called the games the last couple of years, but one thing I've noticed about you is I've said it more about you than anybody else. Wow, he really had a quiet whatever it was. Yeah. And I think because you don't force the game. You let the game come to you. Definitely. And you really you're more concerned. And Al is great at this too. And you make for a really effective backcourt. When you see you guys chirping when you see you and Al chirping at the guys, it's not about, hey, where's mine? Where's me? It's, hey, do your job. Yeah, I want to feed you. I want to help you out.
No, definitely. I mean, I'm a point guard at heart, man. I played point guard my whole life until after college, and I started scoring the ball. So coaches would just move me to the 2. So I'm naturally a point guard, and I'm always going to make that extra pass and things like that.
Now, Al was my pregame interview, and he's lobbying me for a nickname. And, hey, man, make sure you mention I'm 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. So we start calling him 2 times. Anything we want.
2-time.
2-time, yeah. Anything you want us to.
Terry's T-time, though.
That's true. T-time. Where it's going to be confusing. We'll figure it out. Yeah. Anything you want us to kick on? Make sure these fans know each and every time.
Nah, not really, man. I think my play and my name speaks for itself.
Well, yeah, it certainly did, and it certainly did today. Leading scorer for the Magic, as even the record at 2-2. Thanks for joining us on Magic TV, fans, and we'll see you guys Thursday night. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Good job, brother. All right. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.